So, I saw a tweet that kind of icked me. It was called Unpopular Opinion Book Edition, and a booktuber, who I shall not name, this is her tweet. Most of y'all only hate hardback books because they're more expensive than paperbacks, so you try to convince yourselves that paperbacks are better. So in saying that, A, kind of privileged and entitled, a bit of gatekeeping, and quite an ugly misnomer that because people prefer to buy paperbacks, or buy paperbacks, they're poor. Oh, where do we start? So first things first. I buy whatever format I can get the book in. I don't care. Only a handful of books that I will buy in hardback ever, and that's just my preference. Partly because of space, to be honest, but also I'm not going to risk a brand new book that I don't know about in hardback. I also buy a lot of books secondhand, and I'm a big convert to ebooks. So let's discuss what's the difference between this hardback and this hardback. You'll be quite shocked. And let's do some verses, shall we? So I'm going to start this really quickly with just saying that mass market paperbacks are designed to be cheap and cheerful. They don't last particularly a long time. I have a soft spot for them, but they're not my favourite format of reading. Partly because the text is always so small, which, with my eyesight not being amazing, that's part of the reason I don't particularly buy mass markets, unless they're a book that I really want, or they're gifted to me like this was. Really good book, by the way. So yeah, that's that. Trade paperbacks are this. They're a bit bigger, as you can see. There is a different size. They're sturdier. They are much sturdier, but they still have a shelf life. They're not going to last a particularly long time. This is my preferred format if I'm travelling with a book, because they're light and they're small, and they're the right size text that I can just chuck in my bag, and there it is, basically. Now, when these lovely booktubers and people gush on about these beautiful hardbacks, a lot of them, especially in young adult literature, aren't really hardbacks. So let's explain. Signed edition of Joseph Knox, The Smiling Man. Can you see the fabric strip? So the pages are bound onto fabric, and then that is bound under there. So it's all attached, it's all a sealed piece, and if you look very carefully, you can actually see where the fabric joins the leaves on there. This is a properly bound hardback. This is how a hardback should be. There should be a piece of fabric, they're more durable, they are hard wearing, the spines don't bend, you can't warp the spine of this book by doing that. It's sturdy. That's the reason they're there. This, on the other hand, the anniversary edition of The City of Bones, is also a hardback. But actually, it's not. Can you see there? There's no fabric. So, essentially, they've made a paperback with a plain white cover. Plain white paper cover. Then that is put into this shell. That is all it is. It's actually to the point that if you do that, this isn't even attached other than by the edges to the cover. So this is not particularly strong. You can warp the spine. It bends, and I'm going to give some people heart attacks by doing this. They're not particularly durable, and they're cheap. They're cheap and they're nasty. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a pretty book, but really, the money this would have cost new, I don't think would have been worth it. It's not a well-made book at all, and this really bugs me. I see this a lot with new writers or hyped writers. Like, I've got the Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock, and that's a fantastic book, but the book is not a proper hardback. It's this really cheap, nasty, it's like this. I mean, if I do that, you can actually see how it's bound together. I get it. I mean, people want cheap and cheerful, but this is ridiculous. So this is what I call the proper hardback. This isn't worth the hardback. It's not worth the hardback price. This is a paperback in a nice, pretty cover. But I mean, the fact that it's not bound properly, the fact that it literally is not even attached. I mean, this would have been, what, a £20 book? So when I see booktubers showing off these beautiful hardbacks, I do wonder if they're proper hardbacks. Because literally, when they do it, they make a... I've watched a fantastic documentary on book construction, which I'm going to try and find, and if I can find it, I'll put it down there. Yeah, I'm a geek. But when they do it, it's literally, imagine that as the book. It's literally got a piece of white printer paper on it, equivalent, with little wings. And that's what binds that in. It's just little wings of white printer paper. And I literally mean, if you were to, my godson grabbed hold of this once, and he went like that, and I thought it was going to rip, because it literally just buckles. I mean, look. When a book does that, when you open it, you know there's a problem. Because essentially what's going to happen is that paper is going to wear out, and it's going to split, and the pages are going to come out. And that's the tragedy about these. But if you open this, you can't do that. You can't actually warp the back, and you can't open them completely. So that's my little bugbear with them. Like, I like my book formats, and I don't care what format is in, but if I see hardbacks that are like that, in all honesty, I would rather buy the paperback. I'd rather, because it's exactly the same thing. That's literally what that is. It's just, and it really annoys me, and I know that it's really OCD and really stupid, but it annoys the hell out of me, and it always has done. Because I'm like, if you're going to make a hardback, make a proper hardback. Something that's sturdy and that's not going to bend. I mean, this at the end of the day was a cash grab. I mean, fantastic crime novel, proper book. 20th anniversary edition of a love series, cheap and nasty. I mean, the book is actually warped as well, if you look at that. It was warped when I got it. So, I do find it a bit stupid when people go, oh, look how beautiful this hardback is, and you look at it and think, yeah, no. Because it's gonna have the same lifespan as a paperback. It's gonna disintegrate in time. It's as simple. So yeah, that's my little hardback book discussion, and there it is.